Mr. President, very distinguished senators, the only order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President CNC for the confirmation of the nominations of the following persons for appointment as ministers of the government of the Federation in accordance with Section 147(2) of the 1999 Constitution as amended. 1. His Excellency Adegboyega Oyetola from Osun State. 2. Dr. Tunji Alausa, Lagos State. 3. His Excellency Ibrahim Gaidam from Yobe State. 4. Lola Adejon, Lagos. 5. Senator Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi from Niger State. 6. Senator Henikin Lokpobiri from Bayelsa State. 7. Senator Alkali Ahmed Said from Gombe State. 8. His Excellency Simon Bako Lalong from Plateau State. 9. His Excellency Atiku Abubakar from Kebbi State. His Excellency Atiku Bagudu from Kebbi State. 10. His Excellency Bello Matawale from Zamfara State. 11. Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu from Kebbi. 12. Zephaniah Gisalo from Federal Capital Territory. 13. Prince Shuaibu Abubakar Audu from Kogi. 14. Abdullahi Tijani Mohammed Guazo Kano. 15. Bosun Tijani, Ogun State. 16. Isiaq Salako, Ogun State. 17. Professor Tahir Momon, Adamawa. 18. Uba Megari Amadu, Taraba. 19. Festus Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. And 20. Dr. Mariga Mahmoud Bunkutre from Kano. Mr. President, distinguished senators, in order to carry out this exercise in conformity with our Standing Order 12 regarding floor privileges, I will move a motion that the Senate do admit the special advisor to the President on National Assembly matters, the nominees, non-serving senators, and other government officials accompanying them into the Senate. Mr. President, I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise to second the motion moved by Leader of the Senate. I so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded. Those who are in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, To enable us continue with the confirmation hearing, I would like to move, sir, that the Senate resolves to a committee of the whole for us to continue with the proceeding.
The Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion moved by Leader of the Senate that the Senate do resolve to committee of the whole to continue proceedings for today. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this Senate do resolve into a committee of the whole to continue the confirmation hearings. Those who are in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We now resolve into a committee of the whole. Yes, point of order.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I come under point of order 42. Order 42. And Mr. President, if I have your permission to read, I would like to read. Thank you. Order 42, personal explanation. By the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal explanation, although there be no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise upon the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave to make it is sought. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I believe that for the integrity of the confirmation hearing and the entire process of appointment of the next set of honorable ministers in this country, it is important to explain to the public the underlying principle of what we are doing here, especially as it regards to the category of citizens that we do ask to take a bow when appearing for their confirmation hearing. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, members of public, again, need to be aware that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, as amended, has stated the qualification for eligibility to be appointed as a honorable minister. It is to the effect that you must be qualified to serve as a member or to contest election into the House of Representatives. That is established. Secondly, when it comes to confirmation hearing, The essence of what we are doing in this chamber is for nominees to be able to appear, tell Nigerians about who they are, and then, of course, where we have questions, which we do in most parts, we ask them these questions. But we now go back as a Senate to look at details of both the CV, the resume submitted to us, consider security reports. If there's any petition against a nominee, we also consider it. And at the end of the day, we take our decision. So it's important that members of the public will draw a line of demarcation between what happens when nominees appear before us and what happens are asked to take a bow. And what is the reason for this? Number one, it is because they are well and favorably known to the parliament by their antecedents. It's because they had stood for election in the past and they had shown that they were constitutionally eligible to contest this election. It's also because on the Hansard of the parliament and the record of the parliament, their antecedents are well established and documented. So we take legislative notice of who they are. So when we ask people to take a bow, it is because it will be a sheer waste of time for us to begin to ask them questions that we already know about them, and antecedents that are already well established on the record of the parliament. That is the essence of that. Now, when it comes to stage two, the fact that we have asked a former parliamentarian to take a bow does not mean we will not subject the same CV and application to the same standard of test and assessment to which we are also subjecting those of the other nominees. So even if we have asked a former parliamentarian to take a bow, if we have any reason not to confirm the nomination of such a member, we will still do it. So it's important that members of the public will understand the essence of this and the reason for this, and also that the fact that it is not a strange peculiarity of the Nigerian parliament. It's a global parliamentary best practice and procedure. I thank you, sir.
Point of order is sustained. Just a slight addendum. Order 9 of our rule books. Privileges are the rights enjoyed by the Senate collectively and by the members of the Senate individually, conferred by the Legislative Houses, Powers and Privileges Act, Cap 208, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 1990, and other statutes, or by practice, precedent, usage, and custom. So what you are saying is also enshrined in our laws. Powers and privileges. So those are privileges enshrined in the law, so we are only also obeying the laws of the country. And as I stated, for those who wish to know more, they can look at the privileges enjoyed by both serving, non-serving senators and both serving and non-serving House of Rep members, and then look at Cap 208, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 1990, and other statutes, and also look at the practices and precedents, usages and customs worldwide. My dear nominee, His Excellency Governor Oyetola, congratulations on your nomination. You just said the explanation that merely appearing before us, and probably after your introduction or questions you take about, does not yet amount to confirmation and approval by this distinguished body. We shall still, in a closed session, look at all the variables before we go into confirmation hearings. So if you have anything that you wish to let Nigeria know outside what they already know, or for those who do not even know, you can summarize your CV and go ahead to let us know. You are welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate, my friend and brother, the Leader of the Senate, Senator Okoyemi, other principal officers of the Senate, my brothers, those of a driven mother from Osun State, distinguished Senators Larry Oyewumi, Senator Francis Fadamsi, and Senator Olubiyi Fadeyi. Good morning. My name is Isiaka Adegboyega Oyetola, CON, FCIB, an accomplished businessman, a seasoned public administrator, and a politician. I was born on the 29th of September 1954 in Eragbiji, Borikwe local government of Osun State. I had my secondary education at Ifeoluwa Grammar School, Osogbo. I passed out in 1972. I proceeded to the prestigious University of Lagos, where I had my first degree in 1978, and some years after, my MBA. I had my one-year compulsory service in Borno State, partly in Borno State and Yobe, because I served in Portisco. After my NYC, I took up an appointment with Leadway Assurance Company. And I was there for 7.5 years. I led Leadway for Crusader Insurance Company, then later to Corporate Alliance and General Insurance Company. In 1991, I decided to start my own business. I floated an insurance broking firm. It's one of the reputable insurance broking firms today, Silver Trust Insurance Brokers. So altogether, I had about 30 years of experience in the private sector. I was director of a few companies. In 2011, I was asked to serve as Chief of Staff to the Governor of Osun State in 2011. And I was there for 8 years as Chief of Staff. In 2018, I contested and won the election to be the Governor of the state. I was the Governor of the state from 2018 to 2022. I believe that the 4 years I served was very impactful because we turned around the fortune of the state, particularly the economy of the state. We had challenges before I became the governor in terms of payment of salary and pensions, because we had very huge deduction of 2.4 billion every month from our allocation. But all the same, we stabilized the economy, and we're paying full salary and pension for the 4 years. Again, we opened up our economy to the people of the world, where we had the Economic and Investment Summit. That created an opportunity for people to know the potentials in our state, particularly in the area of mining. I'm happy to say that as we speak,
a number of these investors from all over the world have been doing business with us, particularly on the basis of a PPP arrangement. Apart from Shegulola, there's a Baja Mines that is already, refining gold in my state. In addition to that, we did a lot in the area of health. It's on record that we revitalized 332 health centers in Osun State, one per ward. We have 332 wards, and we have 332 health centers because the importance of primary health care is very, very germane. We, again, try as much as possible to ensure security of life and property by supporting the security agencies for their needs. I don't want to bore you with a lot of details. I think most of these things are already in my CV. But let me say I thank the Almighty God for this opportunity, and I want to thank Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for considering me worthy of being nominated for a minister. And I thank this very important House, the Senate, for the opportunity of this screening today. Thank you, and God bless you.
Yes, Father Husi.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Adenigba Francis Fadansi, OFR. Today, I represent the good people of Osun State. I'm from Osun East. I thank Mr. President for at least counting Osun State worthy of bringing one of us as his ministerial nominee. Before you is His Excellency, the former governor of Osun State, His Excellency Isiaka Boyega Oyetola, who happened to come from my school, University of Lagos. I was a year ahead of him, 77, he's 78. And he's a pioneer, one of the few pioneer students of insurance. When insurance and finance department and MASCOM was 77, insurance 78, they started it. Today, we thank Mr. President for bringing you here for scrutiny. His Excellency Mr. Boyega Oyetola is a Democrat. If I could remember with nostalgia, in Unilag in 76, he was among few of us. That was 78 when we left. He was among few of them that led the struggle against the obnoxious education of Colonel Ali policy, which led to Ali must go then. And the education policy changed to favor the student. Again, a strong lawyer, faithful ally of Mr. President, Aṣíwájú Ahmed Tinubu, GTFR, who have been with him for long, like our leader. A financial and management and insurance guru of repute. A good manager of men and women and financial resources. Today, he brought all his he has been in business and private life for 30 years. He brought all his private life to the experience he had to bear on Osun politics, which yielded many financial opportunities and business opportunities. My distinguished colleagues, today I brought the man, at least that has performed to the best of his ability and our own admiration, for you to please kindly at the end of the day approve his nomination for Mr. President to swear in. I so submit to my fellow colleagues. Thank you very much.
Okay, leader.
Mr. President of the Senate, very distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Olalere Oyewumi. I represent the wonderful people of Osun West Senatorial District. Mr. Nominee, I want to thank my senior brother that spoke before me to congratulate you on being found worthy to be nominated by the President of Osun State as a Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the man standing before us has many accolades. When our brother from Ogun State and the man from Ekiti, particularly Mr. Alake, was here, our colleague from Ekiti State described him as a Jiroba, which means the one that sees the king early in the morning. But the man standing before us here today is more than a Jiroba. He's an Abobaji. The one that sleeps with the king and wake up with him before a Jiroba comes in the morning. Because they say blood is thicker than water. Sir, in Osun State, the three of us representing Osun State in this hollow chamber have met with the executive governor of Osun State yesterday, Senator Ademola Nuruddin Jackson Adeleke. And I'm speaking on his behalf that we should give our total support for the nominee standing before you, Mr. Gboyega Isiaka Oyetola, as the next minister from Osun State. We believe in him. You know, Osun State is a young state that is yearning for development. And we believe they can come from anybody. And he's one of us, one of our leaders. I will believe that if he's here representing us, we have 3 senators here, the governor at home, if all of us work together, Osun State will be better. So I'm speaking on his behalf and on behalf of other 2 senators from Osun State that we have no objection to his nomination. And we believe that he's going to perform. I should submit.
I think this is very good for Nigerian democracy. When you hear the opposing parties speaking on behalf of a nominee from the majority party, and that is why the Senate is totally different. we speak across party lines. We are not interested in party once you come here. Leader, Senator Olarode, and your colleagues from Osun, I'm very delighted to hear what you have just said. He has been your governor, he's one of you, and you have spoken on behalf of your colleagues. Hearing from the horse's mouth, I don't think we have much to discuss with this nominee. If you have anything at all to add, otherwise your people have sanctioned that you should represent them. Your governor, who is from even a different political party, has sent emissaries here. You did not even come alone. You arrive here with the new national secretary of the APC, Senator Ajibola Bashiru, and former senators and House of Rep members, all of them are there in the gallery just to support you. The entire Osun is behind you, from the governor to the smallest person. So please, if you have nothing else to add, just step forward and then pay respect to the Senate and then proceed outside. Yes, next nominee, please. Distinguished colleagues, we have before us another nominee, and very coincidentally, one of us, His Excellency Ibrahim Gaidam. You're welcome. You know the procedure. You've always been here. This is your chamber. Yeah, you've been in fact, even currently, you just left your seat there. So we want to use this opportunity to thank Mr. President for recognizing our colleagues and then finding them worthy to also cross over to the Federal Executive Council to serve the country. You have anything you like to add? Otherwise, you greet your colleagues and in line with the Act, which I just read out, Cap 208, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, privileges enjoyed by members of the Senate and the legislature. You do the needful.
I can introduce myself now, no problem. My name is Senator Ibrahim Gaidam. I was born in Bukarti village, former Gaidam local government, on 15 September 1956. I went to Unusari Primary School for my primary education from 1963 to 1969. I proceeded to Borno Teachers College for my grade 2 certificate. I completed the Teachers College in the year 1979. Thereafter, I was posted as a primary school teacher. I taught for some 2-3 years before proceeding to Ahmadu Bello University for my diploma in accounting certificate. I completed the diploma certificate, the diploma course in 1983. I went back to Borno State and employed as an audit officer with my diploma certificate. I worked there for about 3-4 years. I went back to Ahmadu Bello University to pursue my degree certificate in accounting. I completed in 1990. I then went back to Borno State. I was posted to the governor's office as an accountant before Yobe was created in 1991. We were all deployed to Yobe State. I was an accountant, assistant director finance, principal accountant, up to director finance and supplies in various ministries in Yobe State. I was appointed commissioner and posted to the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Social Development in 1995. In 1996, I was posted to Ministry of Commerce and Industry in Yobe State. I led my office as Director of Finance and Supply. In those days, if you are working as a civil servant or public officer, you will be allowed to go on study leave without pay. So I left my office as Director, Finance and Supply, and then got appointed Commissioner. After dissolution of the cabinet in 1997, I went back to Ministry of Finance as Deputy Accountant General / Director Final Accounts. I was there then in 1998. I was deployed to Ministry of Health as Director Finance and Supplies. In 1999, when civilian administration came in, I was appointed permanent secretary. The position I held up to February 2007 when I retired and joined politics. I ran with my boss, late Senator Mamali. I was his running mate. I was his running mate. So we won the election and I was his deputy for about 20 months. Thereafter, my boss died and I was sworn in as the governor of Yobe State on 27th January 2009. So I completed his tenure. In 2011, I contested and won election, and I became the executive governor of Yobe State. Also in 2015, I contested and won, and became executive governor of Yobe State for a second time. And in 2019, after expiration of my tenure, 2 terms, I contested for senatorial seats in Yobe East. I won. I came to this Hado chamber, and the same thing applied in 2023. And this is why I am now. Thank you.
Thank you. I think at that time, the constitution was not amended. That if an incumbent dies and the deputy takes over, the deputy will only be entitled to one tenure. So he enjoyed that privilege of going for a clear 8 years plus the unexpired residue of his late principal. May the soul of his late principal rest in peace. Distinguished Senator, Nigerians know you more. You may step forward and enjoy your privilege. Distinguished colleagues, we have distinguished Senator Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. I'm sure a lot of you are itching to ask him questions. Distinguished Senator Sabi, you're welcome. If there is anything that has changed in your life between the 9th Senate and the 10th Senate, you may go ahead and let us know. Otherwise, you move forward and take your privilege.
Order. Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Deputy Senate President, my own brother, a friend, a confidant, distinguished Senator Barrow I. Jibrin, the leader of the Senate, all other principal officers, my very distinguished senators of the 10th Senate, let me say to all of you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mr. President, sir, I am indeed very, Mr. President, distinguished senators, I am Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, CON, Baradin Borgu, and it is with so much nostalgia that I stand here before you as a ministerial nominee of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, GCFR. And of course, standing before you here gives me so much joy, knowing fully well that the 10th Senate has already begun to perform that very great national duty that the Senate has always been known to perform. Mr. President, my CV is before you, but let me say very briefly, I'm a veterinarian by training, and I've had 20 years of public service experience before I voluntarily retired to contest in the 2015 election to be a member of the 8th Senate, during which time I served as the spokesman, and I was re-elected in 2019, during which time in the 9th Senate, I was the Deputy Chief Whip of the Senate. Mr. President, I know for want of time and for the fact that a lot has to happen today, I would definitely want to stop at this level and to say thank you very much for the privilege to be here. And I must give my thanks to President Ahmed Bola Tinubu for finding me worthy of his nomination. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Yeah, distinguished Senator Sabi Abdullahi, you are aware of Order 9, Sub A. Privileges are the rights enjoyed by the Senate collectively and by the members of the Senate individually, conferred by the Legislative Houses Powers and Privileges Act, Cap. 208, Laws of the Federation, 1990, and other statutes, or by practice, precedents, usage, and customs. It's important that the public do know that what we are doing here, when it comes to your case and other cases similar to yours, are enshrined in our laws and laws of the Federation of Nigeria, and also enshrined in our rules. Distinguished Senator, we want to thank Mr. President again for finding us worthy to serve in his cabinet. And we are doing so on your behalf. You may wish to step forward and take a bow. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, Leader of the Senate. Who is the next nominee? Yes, distinguished colleagues, Because Senator Henneken Lukwebri is already here, and he enjoys the same privilege as others, we may just give him 1 minute to mention anything that he wishes Nigerians to know, and thereafter he will take a bow.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the President of the Senate and Chairman of the National Assembly, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate leadership, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, may I very humbly crave indulgence to acknowledge my 3 senators from Bayelsa, starting with Senator Dixon, who is representing me from Bayelsa West, Senator Benson Agaraga, and then Senator Benson Kombowi. Your Excellency, my CV is already before you, and I don't intend to bore you with the details of what is contained in my CV. I had the rare privilege of becoming Speaker of Bayelsa State House of Assembly. I also had the rare privilege of being here for 8 years. And thereafter, I also had the privilege of being screened by the Senate and confirmed to be a minister between 2015 and 2019. Your Excellency, thank you very much for the opportunity to appear before you. And let me also seize the opportunity to also express my gratitude to President Bola Tinubu for finding me worthy to be part of his cabinet. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Well, yeah, distinguished Senator Henneken Lukwebri, you just mentioned you were already a speaker. You mentioned that you were a senator for 8 years, and you are still a senator anyway, but non-serving. You mentioned that you were screened by this hallowed chamber, and you serve as a minister of the Federal Republic. And you also mentioned the fact that you have also been renominated by Mr. President. Again, on behalf of the 10th Senate, we want to thank the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for finding our colleagues worthy to serve the nation in the Federal Executive Council. You may now take a bow. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, it's a Friday, and to enable our distinguished colleagues observe the Jumat prayer, may I move that we go on a break and resume our sitting by 2:30 p.m. I so move, Mr. President, Mr. Chair.
The Minority Leader.
The President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues, I stand to second the motion moved by the Leader of the House. I also second. The Leader of the Senate. Yes.
Distinguished colleagues, today is Friday, and most of our colleagues have already stepped out to observe prayers. So a motion has been moved by the Leader of the Senate and seconded by the Minority Leader that we take a short break to enable us to offer prayers to Almighty Allah, and thereafter we resume. Those who are in support of this break say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So we take a short break. We resume at 2:30 prompt. Yes, distinguished colleagues, the nominee is before us. We'll yield the floor to you to give us a summarized resume and any other thing you wish the public to know. The floor is yours.
Mr. Senate President, His Excellency Senate President, leadership of the House, distinguished senators. Mr. President, sir, I'd like to seek your indulgence to quickly acknowledge the 3 senators from my state. Senator Tokunbo Abiru, who is representing my own constituency of Ekpe local government area. Senator Idayat Adebule, representing the Lagos West District, and Senator Wasiu Eshinlokun, representing the Lagos Central District. On behalf of the people of Lagos State, I'd like to say thank you to you for the excellent work you're doing for the state and for the country. I also would like to thank President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for this distinct opportunity and privilege in nominating me to serve as a minister for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I don't take this privilege lightly, neither will ever take it with levity. Good afternoon, distinguished senators. My name is Dr. Maruf Olatunji Alausa from Ekpe local government area of Lagos State. I was born on the 16th day of April, 1967. I completed my early childhood education at Nazareth Convent School, where I completed my primary and secondary school education. I finished my secondary school education in 1996. Then I was admitted to University of Lagos in 1996. Completed my university education in 1993. Then between 1993 and 1994, I did my housemanship. And between 1994 and 1995, I did my youth service in Plateau State. Shortly after that, I proceeded to the United Kingdom to start my postgraduate education. I then went to the United States. I started my residency in internal medicine at the famous Cook County Hospital in Chicago. I did my residency in internal medicine between the year 1997 to 2000, and upon completion of my residency, I was appointed to the prestigious position of chief resident. As a chief resident, I coordinated the residency training of well over 250 residents. After I finished the tenure of my chief residency position, I was appointed to as an assistant professor and clinical instructor of medicine to one of the largest teaching hospitals in Chicago, Rush Medical Center. As a clinical instructor and as an assistant professor of medicine, my job then was to really train medical students on their clinical skills. I was assistant professor for about 2 years. I then proceeded to further my training. In 2000, I went to start my specialty training in nephrology. Nephrology is a specialty of medicine which is dedicated to caring for patients with wide-ranging kidney diseases and hypertension. I finished my specialist training in 2004. Today, I'm American board certified in internal medicine and nephrology. I'm also well published. I've published several peer-reviewed journals that cut across various, the broad section area of medicine, basic medical sciences and clinical sciences. Several of my research papers are very highly cited by other researchers. When I finished my fellowship, my specialist training in 2004, as a firm believer in private sector driven healthcare economy, I founded Dialysis Care Center to focus in providing access to care to underserved community in the United States of America.
Today, the Dialysis Care Center is operating hundreds of multiple clinics in various underserved communities in the United States. I'm proud to say Dialysis Care Center is one of the top 10 dialysis providers in the United States today. But for all I've done in providing and continue to provide access to care in the United States, I never forgot my home. I continue to advance the delivery of care in my country. In 2001, I was one of myself and 3 other Lagosians facilitated the donation of over hundreds of millions of dollars worth of hospital equipment to the government of Lagos State. These equipments were donated by the government of Cook County in Illinois. Our able Senator Okweme, a majority leader, Senator Okweme Bamidele, can attest to this. He was a cabinet member in Lagos State then. Also in 2000, myself and 3 other Lagosians supported the a very unique healthcare initiative that was initiated by our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was then the governor of Lagos State, Jigi Bola. Myself and 3 other Lagosians facilitated the donation of over 500,000 pairs of reading glasses to the Lagos State government. These glasses were donated by Walgreens Pharmaceutical, the largest pharmaceutical retailer in the world. My work in advancing healthcare delivery in Nigeria was not limited to Lagos State alone. Over the past 2.5 decades, I have participated in hundreds of medical missions to several parts of the country, directly delivering care to underserved communities in the remotest part of our country. I also have a foundation that is funding several of these medical missions. My work in advancing care in Nigeria is not limited to direct patient care alone. On the policy front, in 2015, I was invited by the then former President Muhammadu Buhari Presidential Transition Council on Health as a subject matter expert to help develop a policy document on how we can adequately fund our education. I'm seeing some answers from the Senator. Just give me 1 minute. More recently, up to about a few weeks ago, I was a member of the President Bola Tinubu Presidential Advisory Council on Health. I worked with 4 other brilliant and well dedicated Nigerians. We've developed a health policy blueprint that this current administration intends to use in radically transforming our healthcare sector. Beyond the policy area, I'll quickly go to what I've done in the government sector. I was privileged to be appointed the chairman of Igbobi National Orthopedic Hospital Yobe. Within 2 short years of being the chairman, together with the board members, we undertook expansive infrastructural upgrade in this hospital. We built few of the things we did then. We built a brand new modular theater with 8 surgical operating suites. We built an intensive care unit, the largest intensive care unit in the country. We built a 32-suite amenity ward. We engaged in a public-private partnership to bring the best diagnosis services to the hospital. I'll stop here because I saw some of the senators are raising their hands. Okay. Oh, good. Okay, thank you. In conclusion, as a firm advocate of private sector-driven healthcare. I believe we need larger participation of the private sector in our healthcare delivery system. What currently exists today, where about 60% of the healthcare expenditure is out of pocket. Patients are paying out of pocket. This is not sustainable. We need to engage the private sector to quickly help in advancing early transformation of our healthcare system. This will actually stem what we're seeing now, this huge medical tourism, where we're spending about $2.5 billion every year. Thank you.
Senator Osun.
Thank you, the Senate President, Your Excellency Senator Godwill Akpabio. I remain Wasiu Eshinlokun, representing the people of Lagos Central, by extension Lagos State and Nigeria. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Confucius once said, education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope. Hope breeds peace. This is Dr. Tunji Alausa from Lagos State. At peace with himself, not proud but not arrogant. One of us is suave, urbane, cerebral, dynamic, resourceful, and kind-hearted gentleman. Dr. Alausa has been very helpful in the health sector of Lagos State. Let me say that the various health missions, the Eco Club, were undertaken from US to Lagos and other parts of Nigeria. It was part and parcel of those health missions. You will recall, sir, and I'll quote Martin Luther King. He says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what have you done for others? In that regard, I will say that Dr. Alausa has used his knowledge, expertise to serve the people of Lagos State pro bono without collecting a dime. He has been also a member of the Presidential Campaign Committee on Health. We are 4 of them, work on the health policy of the present government. Dr. Alausa is well known to us. Those of us from Lagos State, starting from Senator Abiru, we were with Senator Abiru in his office, and we found him worthy, and we concluded that we're going to support him for this position. Let me say that today, I want to invoke the principle of reciprocity. Our friendly disposition to other nominees from your various states. We've been quiet, observant, and we've not asked any injurious question. So, most distinguished senator, I commend to you your support for our own Dr. Moruf Olatunji Alausa. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Abiru.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, sitting as the chair, and my distinguished colleagues. I congratulate the nominee, and perhaps I don't think I have much to say again than to queue behind my brother, distinguished Senator Eshinlokun, that I fully support and also appeal to my colleagues to support the nomination of Dr. Moruf Alausa. But I mustn't just take my seat just like that, because, again, Dr. Moruf Alausa happens to be my constituent. He belongs to the Lagos East senatorial constituency. superintend as the senator representing, and particularly from Ekpe local government. Like he had said by himself, he's an accomplished physician, with specialty in chronic diseases such as kidney and hypertension. And equally, his over 30 years of practice, he has proven to be an accomplished professional, both in the private and the public sector. And what is more intriguing is the fact that the way and manner that he had conducted his practice, he has also made provision to also serve the underserved, that is, people who cannot afford Medicare. And also he's made tremendous contributions in terms of research work and publications that will continue to enrich his profession. And of course, he was also a member of the Presidential Advisory Council, particularly under the health subsector that ushered in part of the plans of the new, of our current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. I also will appeal to all my colleagues to fully support his candidature as a minister of the Federal Republic. Mr. President, I so submit. Thank you.
Point of order? Order what?
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Karimi Sunday Steve. I represent Kogi West from Kogi State. Order 55, Rule 13. Senators shall attend the sitting of the Senate properly dressed in non-traditional and formal attires. Senator Wadada. You are not properly dressed.
No time. It's like no
He's not properly dressed, sir.
Senate, distinguished colleagues, distinguished Senator Karimi, your point of order is sustained. Distinguished Senator Abdul Fattah.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, sitting as the chair, Dr. Maruf, my name is Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari, Oyo North. I was going through your CV, and I'm impressed. Today, in the United States of America, where I know you know the place very well, over 35% of the resident doctors there, foreign doctors, are Nigerians, which means we have the manpower, they have the brain. Number one, what are you going to do to stop the brain moving, migrating from Nigeria to America or Europe? Two, the facility in Nigeria today are not there. What are you going to do in case you find yourself in the Ministry of Health to bring our health care, even if you can't match them 100%, but to the level where you have the confidence to see a doctor in Nigeria? More than 80% of my colleagues here, even ordinary headache, they would rather stay home instead of going to the hospital. Because the fear is that the equipment are not there. But we know we have the people that are capable to do the job. If you find yourself there, what are the things you can do to retain them? Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Sadiq Umar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sitting as chair, my distinguished colleagues, Mr. Nominee, congratulations, and like it's been said,
Your work so far is acknowledged and we appreciate it. But I have a concern, which is that I've always insisted, that to develop this country, there are key sectors we need to focus on, which is education and healthcare. They are the key two sectors to develop Nigeria. Now, in the health sector, we are so concerned that the Constitution recognizes health to are falling under concurrent list, which means both at federal, state, and in fact, the local government, everybody is intervening in the healthcare sector. This has led to so many duplications, confusions, and so much uncoordinated activities going on in that sector. Now, this National Assembly wanted to help this system to be sure that there is universal health coverage. And we passed a bill where 1% of the CRF is dedicated, just because we want to make sure health gets to the lowest level. But till now, Mr. Nominee, the big problems still remain. And all the grammar we speak about healthcare, the whole thing ends up with the outcomes, what we are interested in. And the outcome, as we speak, is as bad as maternal mortality rate is still over 814 by 100,000 live births. Infant mortality rate, very bad, 70 for every 1,000 live births. Under 5 mortality rate, very bad, over 100, about 104 by every 1,000 live births. So what are we going to do differently? Because we've been going around this. State governments are making effort, local governments are making effort, but the coordination is not there. What are you going to do different? Because this is the key to our success. That coordination, to be sure that we bring down these indicators slowly, so that we can have healthy citizens, that if we give good education, we'll be productive and we'll be on our way to developing the society. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Alero.
Thank you, Mr. President, in the chair, my distinguished colleagues. Mr. Nominee, let me start by saying that I'm very impressed with the CB. I went through it. We are very proud that a Nigerian could attain this kind of achievements. So congratulations. Having said that, Mr. President, let me start with the famous dictum that health is wealth. A healthy nation is also a wealthy nation. Primary health care, secondary health care, tertiary health care are the responsibilities of local government, state government, and federal government, respectively. Unfortunately, the primary health care and secondary health care are not functioning well. And tertiary health care has been overburdened. There are heavy congestion of patients in our tertiary healthcare institutions. If eventually you are assigned to Ministry of Health, what can you do to ensure that primary healthcare, secondary healthcare are shared among the different arms of government, so that each section of the healthcare will function efficiently and effectively? Lack of healthcare is making Nigerians to go for medical tourism, particularly in Europe, Egypt, and India. As a professional of international repute, what can you do to reduce medical tourism in Nigeria? Billions of dollars have been spent by Nigerians, while we have so many Nigerians, as said by my colleagues, in Europe, America, and the Middle East, that are serving in the healthcare delivery in various countries. Thoroughbred professionals like you, what can we do to bring them so that we will stop medical tourism. Thank you, Mr. President.
Dismissed Senator Tambua.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, my colleagues, the nominee, let me join my colleagues in congratulating you for accepting to come back home and serve our dear country in this capacity, despite all of your achievements and what possibly you may continue to enjoy if you continue to serve elsewhere outside Nigeria. Being a professional and in view of the situation we are facing in Nigeria today, whereby so many medical personnel and professionals in other fields are leaving the country for greener pastures. If, peradventure, you are appointed as Minister of Health, what measures and initiatives are you going to introduce to arrest the movement and mass of our professionals outside Nigeria and bringing them back home so that we together can turn around our Medicare and medical system in Nigeria? Thank you very much.
Dismissed Senator Abbas Wakili.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Aminu Abbas, Adamawa Central. Mr. Nominee, my questions is related to the last two questions, but I want to put it in a different way. There is argument that health tertiary institutions shouldn't be run by government, should go private. And those proponents of this private sector participation are saying that it will reduce the brain dry and as well as medical tourism. Now, if you hold this saying and you want it to go private, how will you now advise the government vis-a-vis the health insurance coverage of Nigerians? Thank you.
So, Senator Yaradua.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Abdulaziz Musa Yaradua, representing the good people of Katsina Central. I'm from Katsina State. Dr. Moruf Olatunji Alausa, I want to congratulate you for being nominated by our most respected president. And I've seen you have a very rich CV. You know, some of us are locally trained here, but from your CV, you are based in the United States, and I've seen that you have been named one of the America's best physicians in 2007, 2012, and 2020. If you are confirmed by this Senate and you are appointed to be the Minister of Health, one of the challenges we are facing in this country right now in our medical or in our public hospitals is that the medical ethics that you know, which is very efficient both in Europe and the United States and other developed nations, where patients and medical practitioners are very, very careful to ensure that they don't make mistakes. In the event a patient dies, usually there will be a medical board. Here in Nigeria, a lot of people die in our hospitals due to negligence of doctors and some other medical practitioners, both in our public hospitals and the private hospitals. And no medical board is constituted to investigate this type of issues, except if probably the patient is a highly placed person. What will you do if you find yourself as a Minister of Health to ensure that our public hospitals and the private hospitals abide by this medical ethics? Number two, I have seen in your CV that you are a certified nephrologist and a kidney expert. Though I'm a layman, but I think most of our public hospitals, I don't think we have efficient kidney centers. You can see that most of our people in Nigeria here travel abroad if they have patients with kidney problems. Right now, one of our own, the former Deputy Senate President, Senator Ike Ikweremadu, who, because of his daughter in search of her health, traveled to UK. Today, we all know where he is. I believe if there are efficient kidney centers in Nigeria, probably he wouldn't have traveled abroad to seek for medical attention for his daughter. So my question is, if you become the Minister of Health, what will you do to ensure, being a kidney expert, to ensure that we have efficient kidney centers so that Nigerians in the future will not have to travel abroad? Thank you very much. Bring two.
Distinguished colleagues, so many people want to ask questions. So because of that, so you won't lose a track of the questions. Let's give him opportunity to answer, and thereafter others can ask. Please.
Yeah. Thank you, distinguished senators. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, distinguished senators. I'm very happy, quite impressed with the variety of questions that have been posed to me. This just vindicates my impression of this august house, that we're very, very passionate, dedicated Nigerians are assembled to really move our country forward. Most of these questions are actually, they fall within one rim, which is just, we don't have, a healthcare system now, it's really suboptimal. Except for the question that Senator Yaradua asked on liability insurance issue, I'll address that later. And the other question from Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari on the JAPA syndrome, I'll come to those two. But the other questions falls within one main category of what we have now is not working the way it should. I'm a fervent believer in private sector-driven healthcare economy. That is how we can fix it. We need a very good payer system. If you don't have a payer system, you cannot fix this healthcare system. If we continue to do what we're doing now, where the larger chunk of the funding is coming from government, they say if you do the same thing, don't ever expect to see a different result. You will see the same result. We need a robust payer system. I would like to commend the Ninth Assembly. They did something very futuristic. They passed 2 landmark bills: the expanded National Health Insurance Act and the provision for the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. This is really, these two bills, we can really use it to create a linchpin, a launching pad, and we can build a very robust payer system. What we now need to do is to encourage international insurance companies to come into the country to support, to complement these small, scattered third-party payers that we have today. Big multinational companies like United Health, Humana, Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, they will come. We have the population. Once we start getting these international companies to come, they will bring in the technology, funding, robust platform to complement what we have. What we would quickly see is that we will have a private sector where we have a huge sum of money going into the pool, and then the National Health Insurance Scheme can now begin to function as a regulator of the private health insurance sector, and then act as the operator of the government part of the scheme. Because we already have the Basic Health Provision Fund that has dedicated a pool of money to vulnerable population. Young kids, infants, mothers, elderlies. So we can use that money to fund those vulnerable groups. So what we would quickly get to, we will have what operates in America today, where you have the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, taking care of the vulnerable group, and you have robust private payer system taking care of the other people. Once we've done that, we now have enough resources coming into our system. What we're worried now about Japa syndrome, doctors going abroad would naturally start to get better. I'm a physician, and I'm not trying to be very partial here, but I know with certainty, anybody that trains to be a doctor wants to serve the humanity. Care for their patient. It's not about money alone, poor economy, but they don't have the adequate infrastructure to care for their patient. It is very, very frustrating. And that's why we see this massive outward migration of doctors out of the country. We need to fix our healthcare infrastructure, and beyond that, compensate our physicians adequately. We also, to now begin to address this Japa syndrome of people going out, once you've adequately compensated, your physicians, fix infrastructure, you provide enabling environment for them to work. Now, we also have to start engaging our diaspora doctors. We engage them to come. Once the right environment is created, they will come. A lot of people we want to serve our country. Now, beyond that, we also need to quickly increase the pool of the doctors we're producing. We have about 50 medical schools in the country. Government can provide special funding to these medical schools to double the number of doctors that are being produced. So, on that. Now, I would like to quickly talk on a very, very important, Senator Aguilera, sorry, you said something about how can we get the sub-national government to take care of the primary and secondary health care system. Now, the federal government cannot force the local government beyond the federal funds being allocated. The federal government cannot force them to do what they have to do. But what is lacking here is there's the National Council of Health, which should be a meeting of the federal minister and the governors, where really health policy issues should be discussed. This council is not functional. They meet probably once a year or twice a year. This is not optimal. The National Council of Health should be really re-engaged to serve its purpose. And that's why we can get the subnational government to do their role, to do what they need to do in terms of primary care and secondary care. Now, Senator Yaradua, you asked a very important question of the way medical liability. Now, literally, there's no regulation. Anybody can just, any healthcare provider can just kill a patient. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. There's literally no consequence. We can't operate a healthcare system like that. We need to set up, like what obtains abroad, quality regulatory boards at the federal and at the state level. These quality regulatory boards would actually begin to credential and certify healthcare facilities, and patients who felt they haven't been treated well can report to those boards, and then the medical practitioner license will be withdrawn, will be suspended. Once that begins to happen, people will be accountable for their actions. That's one thing that is lacking, and we need to do. Also, you said something that is very passionate to my heart. This is what I do every day: lack of kidney care centers here, namely dialysis clinics and transplantation service in the country. You know, it's about you don't have the funding. Averagely, one session of, even in Nigeria today, one session of dialysis cost about 25,000 naira. If you have to do at least, at standards you do 3 times a week, Nigeria they do twice a week. That's 50,000 naira a week. In a month, 200,000 naira. Even if you're a multi-millionaire and continue to do this, you will expend your money. One of the major causes of bankruptcy in the world is lack of health insurance coverage. Once we now have a robust payer system where the insurance pay for the dialysis, they pay for transplant, clinics will spring up. This is business. They follow where the money is. We can now begin, what we have now, our healthcare sector is only contributing less than 2.5% to our GDP. We need to really invite more private involvement, where we can quickly increase year over year contributory GDP by 5%. If we're able to do that, in 4 years, we can get our GDP to the GDP get the GDP to about 22%, where we have the health sector contributing to it. Today, in America, 22% of the GDP there, the healthcare accounts for 22% of GDP. That translates into $3.3 trillion spent. If we're able to do the same thing here, we can quickly bring in a lot of money into the healthcare sector, and what will happen, we'll create a healthcare sector that is even bigger than the oil and gas sector. And what will happen, compared to oil and gas, healthcare sector, it has a heavy need for manpower. What we can quickly do, if we get to that level, now we will engage a lot of young unemployed citizens coming into the labor force, getting decent job, paying government taxes. We can do this. We just have to have focused leadership to get this done. I hope I've answered all the questions.
Not totally. I see the hand of distinguished Senator Idiot. She's representing Lagos. Maybe there is something you did in Lagos that she wants to bring forth.
Your Excellency, the Senate President, distinguished colleagues, before you is Dr. Tuji Alausa, a health practitioner of decades of experience. If confirmed, Dr. Alausa will be an asset in the balance sheet of Nigeria. And I've listened to him. He has explained to us all of his exploits outside of this country, in the private sector and the public sector. And I have no doubt in my mind that Dr. Tuji has proved to all of us that he has what it takes to run the Health Ministry if confirmed. Distinguished senators, I recommend Dr. Tuji Alausa for your confirmation and plead for the understanding of other senators. And I take the leave of the President of the Senate to please allow Dr. Tuji Alausa to take the leave of the Senate. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, just in case there is something that happened in the Southeast so that we don't marginalize Southeast. Distinguished Senator Nweboyi, your hand has been up.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, Dr. Alausa, from your records, you may be the next health minister. And if that happens, I want to bring your attention to two things. One, if you go through our pharmaceutical stores across the nation, 50% of the drugs there are fake drugs. What can you do to avert this? In knowledge of the fact that NAFDAC is an agency under Federal Ministry of Health. Number two, medical profession today is being overtaken by quacks more than any other profession in Nigeria. As a health minister, what can you do to stop this menace in view of the sensitive nature of the medical profession? Because when you go to the rural areas, you see those that have a community health certificate conducting surgery, and in most cases leads to loss of life. As a health minister, how can you tackle this? Thank you.
Senator Nweboyi, you actually spoke my mind, because I was waiting for the distinguished senators to ask him about the activities of quacks. That even as we speak now, 5 people must have died today as a result of the activities of quacks. Nurses are doing surgery in private domains. Even people, dispensers in the chemist are also giving injections. And a lot of people are dying. I've had a personal family experience in 2019, and I was going to ask him, so outside the fake drugs, the issue of quackery in the system, but there's one question that has not yet been asked, so I don't need to be the one to ask. So let me give the opportunity to Senator Kalia Dahawa. And I think, Senator Kalia, you are also a doctor. You're a doctor. Okay, let me see whether you ask that question. If you don't ask, I'll ask, then he will close.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, Dr. Alausa, I just want to ask you a straight question. And I'm asking you as a doctor, and a private doctor for that matter. One of the biggest problems we are having is the leadership don't want to face the truth and face the doctors, in my opinion. There is a report of World Bank, I think it's of 2017, and I tried to corroborate it yesterday, and I found that they said in our urban areas, 80% of the private hospitals are owned by doctors working in government practices, receiving salary of government, and at the same time operating private hospitals. And by so doing, you have a situation whereby the private is no good, the government is no good. Because you cannot divide your attention and have 100% output. Will you be able, if you are appointed Minister of Health, to face these challenges head on so that all this quackery that is happening in our hospitals and in our other places will be taken head on so that at least something can be done to save the situation? Thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you, distinguished Senator. Senator Neda, I've seen you. I've seen Senator Dankwambo. But Senator Dankwambo, your question may be related to the financials. So go ahead.
Thank you, the Senate President. Let me start by congratulating the nominee and also to congratulate him for having this very nice CV. My question, sir, the nominee was given opportunity in the last administration to be one of the top advisors on health. And today, when you go around our federal teaching hospitals and federal medical centers, the situation is very bad and requires very urgent attention of the government. When I was elected, I think the first people to meet up with me are the people from the Federal Teaching Hospital, Gombe. The situation is so critical. People are just sitting there. The equipments are in bad shape. The environment is not good. And delivery of health services are challenged. So I don't know what motivates you to come back. But what will you do different now to ensure service of health service delivery is different going forward from now? Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Onawo.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, sitting as chair. Dr. Lausa, congratulations for your nomination. My name is Senator Mohammed Ogoshi Onao. I represent Nasarawa South. I am bothered by the spread of serious life-threatening cases as a result of accidents or gunshot wounds and life-threatening issues that are taken to hospitals that doctors or nurses will refuse to attend to such patients because there is no police report. I know
You said just a while ago that doctors want to serve humanity when they decide to go into the profession. Now, if an accident happens in an environment where there is no police at hand and the patient is dying, should this patient die because there is no police to give a report? What can you do to forestall such? Thank you.
I think that is a very good question. There are a lot of people with gunshot wounds, not through their faults, sometimes as a result of stray bullets, are dying in various hospitals because the hospitals have refused to treat them, waiting for police report. That if he's given an opportunity in the health sector, what will he do to stop the loss of lives of innocent citizens? We will allow you to answer that. But I just want to add one more question. If you are given an opportunity, what will you do to assist the poor people who are daily being detained in various hospitals in the country after treatments? A lot of poor people who cannot afford 2,000 naira, 1,000, 5,000 to pay for medical treatments are being detained for days in various hospitals in the country. And I know this, if you are one of those who move around, particularly during your birthdays and you try to go around the hospitals, you'll be shocked that some people after delivery of children, they are not able to pay the full bill and they are being detained with the newborn babies in various hospitals in the country. And these are federal medical centers, federal hospitals and state hospitals. They are not allowed to go home. They are told to stay there until they pay. Is there any form of arrangement that you will do that can cater to settle the medical bills of these very poor people who are suffering in the hospitals, not through their faults? That's the question. And distinguished Senate President, you may add the question so that he can answer, because if he can't solve all our health problems today, we have to take other people.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Mr. Nominee. My name is Barozi Brinkano North. Still on the plight of our referral hospitals. Most of the cases, medical cases that our people go through in this country are the likes of malaria, colds, and so on, that can be treated at the primary healthcare centers or clinics. But yet, most of these people that have this kind of medical challenges go to referral hospitals, especially in the cities. They go to the teaching hospitals, thereby overstretching the capacity of the referral hospital. Whereas it's only cases that are complicated are supposed to be, taken to the referral hospitals. So what are you going to do to change this trend? Because we are overstretching our referral hospitals, all right? So what are you going to do if eventually you are confirmed and maybe the president feels that you should be the Minister of Health? What are you going to change the trend? Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished senators. I'm very, very excited with these impressive questions. Senator Barrow, I'll take your question first. Absolutely, the tertiary hospitals are very, very highly overburdened. And it's just because the primary healthcare centers are not literally non-functional. Senator Alero alluded to that. What we need to do, we need to go beyond just building infrastructures. What we're saying is, we built one primary care center in every local government in the country. We're going to double it to 2. And now we have, I was at a presentation as part of my work on the Presidential Advisory Council, meeting the
CEO, the Director General of the National Primary Healthcare Agency. He told me, I said, we have 10,000 primary healthcare centers in the country today. Less than 30% of these centers are functional. So they're there, but they're deserted. No community health worker, no nurses, no physician there. But once we begin to really realign our priorities, we get this, what we have today, we don't need to build anymore. Let's be honest with our people. It's not the structure, it's what goes in there that matters. Once we begin to adequately equip this, what we have now, provide the needed personnel there, Senator Barrel, the people will go there. If I live in Castina, city of Castina today, there's a primary care center that's 5 miles from my house, and I know if I go there at 9 p.m., I'll meet a healthcare provider there. I'll go there as a citizen of Castina. I will not drive 2 hours to go to the city to go to a teaching hospital. So what we need to do, we define our priorities, get this, what we have now, get them functional, and we can do that. We just need focused leadership to get this done. Now, I'm going to go to the question of the Senate President about people being detained. After, this is really very pathetic. It's sad. But then, the way to get this done is to have a payer system. And today, the Basic Health Care Provision Fund can actually provide for those patients, but it's not being operated well. The Senate has done its own. You've passed this fund. You've passed. It's a percentage of the federal budget, but it's not being managed. The Health Insurance, National Health Insurance Agency, they're not managing this fund well. So that, there's already a solution for that. This kind of patient can get rolled into this program that we already have, that are existing. But there's so much disconnection in the way those two programs are being managed.
Please, because the public will be very interested in what you are saying. The question is information dissemination. Now, you are saying that the Senate had already provided a solution by passing a bill that was signed into an act, providing, what do you call it?
The bill is the Basic Health Care Provision Fund. The funds are there. And that, in the funds, let me tell you how the funds was apportioned. 55% of the fund is meant to, 55% of that fund is meant to go to the National Health Insurance Agency, while about 40% of that fund goes to the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, and about 5% to the National Emergency Management Agency. But the way those funds are being managed, nobody knows.
Now, if you are given an opportunity to be a Minister of Health or to work in the health sector, how will you manage the fund? What modalities will you put in place? Want to even let the farmer and the poor people in Nigeria to know that there is succor provided by government through legislation, and that those funds are actually there to assist them instead of they are being detained in hospitals weeks and months after their surgery and after deliveries. What will you do differently to make sure that the public is, one, aware, and two, impacted by these funds?
Thank you, Mr. President. Fixing this problem is actually quite easy. It's just to build synergy, but before then, aggressive orientation and education of the public to let them know of the availability of this fund. And that when I say build synergy, we can now get the National Health Insurance Agency that has a large pool of this money to now begin to enroll patients like this. Now, if a patient gets to the hospital today, if they don't have coverage, they know the fund is there, they can apply for emergency health care insurance coverage. And we will mandate the National Health Insurance Agency to approve the coverage within 48 hours, once they've gotten the biometrics of the patient. And once that's done, once that patient is now able to provide evidence of insurance coverage to the hospital, they know they can get their money from the National Health Insurance Agency. Very simple.
Apparently, we can't keep you forever. But I would think that you should also involve the legislators, House of Representatives and Senators, and you should bring out guidelines and share those guidelines with us. So when we go back home, we also educate our constituents and give them those forms to fill and for them to have an idea that such succor is in existence to assist the poorest poor, because it will also save them from embarrassments and death. Then, my final question, which is actually supposed to come from the floor, but it did not come, is that today, many doctors in the employment of the federal government and state governments abandon the general hospitals, abandon the federal government institutions for their own private hospitals. And they also divert. Oh, has he answered? He has answered. He has answered. Okay. In addition, allegations abound that sometimes equipment provided by federal governments find their way into the private clinics of the hospital or the doctors. So they are getting monthly salaries, but their private clinics are booming, while the government hospitals are empty and patients are dying. What will you do differently to change the orientation so that Nigerians can get the benefit of the funds that federal government continually put into these hospitals and also the state governments?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would actually, it's about the same question that the distinguished senator on the Hall there asked about the role of these doctors having dual interest. They go, work in the public hospital and go to the private hospital to work. Their loyalty is divided. Now, Mr. President, you've added a third tripod to it on the fact that these doctors, beyond abandoning their work, they also use government equipment to go and do their private work. There are lots of problems here. We don't have standard policy and procedures in place to discipline this physician. And that's what the senator said, that the government or NMA, they're very reluctant in confronting the doctor. We have to. They have to be held accountable. That's what happens everywhere to any profession. You have to be held accountable. If you're not held accountable, you do whatever you want. We don't have, and that's why we have to build a robust regulatory body that will hold all these doctors accountable. A member of a senator or an House of a rep member or state assembly member can, if their constituent go to complain, exact the complaint that's coming to you, Mr. President, they can call the regulatory agency. This is what I'm seeing in my hospital, in my district in Iyo. Doctors are not there. They abandon the place, they take equipment. The regulatory agency will come unbiased, investigate. If those allegations are found to be true, the doctors will be sanctioned. Their license will get suspended. No doctor, no professional wants their license to be suspended. That's a pathway to feeding, and that's what separates you from lunatism. You want to protect that license. It's making people accountable. That's how we can begin to fix problems like this. Now, I need to quickly answer Senator Mohammed Onaho, distinguished Senator Mohammed Onaho. This is actually sad when you have trauma victims being taken to hospital still alive, and somebody is saying, oh, we can't care for you because you need to get a police report. That, as a doctor, the Hippocratic oath that we took, it's first, do no harm. You see a patient that is dying, and you're not caring for that patient. But it's more of a systemic problem and lack of communication. I don't think the way to quickly fix this is to provide policy and procedures that will guide everybody on how to handle accident patients. You don't need police report to treat trauma patient. This will be communicated to the Inspector General, because what happened is that all these healthcare providers are scared. The police will come and prosecute them. That, oh, you've treated a victim, a fraudster, and then what happened? That's what they're afraid of. But even if you're a fraudster, even if you're a robber, and you're not dead yet, it's your right to live. You can be treated, be rescued, be saved, and then be prosecuted. That's it. You don't say, oh, I'm not going to treat you because you're a robber, and then you die. You've taken that ability for that person to live into your hand. That is not acceptable, and that's not the way doctors are trained. First, do no harm. Now, let me quickly answer distinguished Senator Nwobo's question about NAFDAC and quacks. That actually fits well into distinguished Senator Yaradua's question. Medical liability. There are lots of quacks there. Why there are quacks is that there's no accountability. I can be a nurse today, open a healthcare shop there, start doing deliveries. Nobody's regulating. All the healthcare facilities are not regulated. In Western world, every single health facility must have a license, a license for you to treat. And that license also has different layers. You can be an outpatient clinic. If you want to add surgical operation to it, you have to apply, and they come to inspect the facility that you have. And you don't even get that license once, and they say, oh, you got in license 10 years, bye-bye. You get re-inspected every 1 to 2 years. You have to maintain those standards. We need to build quality regulatory body that will take care of this. Now, with regards to NAFDAC, it's a little bit sad to say it's beyond these fake pharmaceutical drugs coming in. These fake drugs, these drugs are killing our people. A lot of people are developing kidney failure because of drugs, counterfeit drugs. This is causing more morbidity into our society. And it's very unfortunate to say today, NAFDAC is not functioning the way it should be. It's not functioning. And if I'm given that opportunity, that's one of the first agency that I would totally reform. It's not functioning. NAFDAC is not doing its work. Not doing its work.
At that point, you can see the sincerity of Dr. Alausa. I think just like every other person here, I've also been a victim of medical neglect. My first grandchild in 2019 in a federal medical center died through bleeding, was having a drip, and it tissued in the night. There was no help, no doctor, no nurse, and he bled until he lost over 60% of his blood. And almost going mental, he struggled and fell on the floor, was looking for water to drink, and he rolled on the floor outside, entered early morning dew, poured the dew all over his body, and then that's where they found him. By that time, he had gone into a coma. I was on my way to Port Harcourt for the 2019 rally. When they called me, I entered the 32-year-old boy. I struggled. They went to go and bring the defibrillator to attempt to revive the heart. It did not work. And I said, how long? They said it stopped working 8 years ago. I used my hand and struggled with my personal physician. I could not revive him. I had to close his eyes and put him in the mortuary. And then I proceeded to Port Harcourt for the rally. He left behind 3 children. Almost every family has suffered from what is going on in our hospitals. The doctor on duty that night had an emergency in his own private clinic, and he had to abandon the hospital to rush to go and attend to private patients in his own private clinic. So if you are coming in, you can see, we can keep you here till 7, 8, because everybody here wants to ask questions, because the Senate is very concerned. Nigerians are very concerned. The same way we are feeling is the way Nigerians are feeling. And the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration must be a corrective regime. It must be a corrective administration to try to, because health is wealth. Health is wealth. There is no way a country can be wealthy when the people are not healthy. So we want to thank you for sparing your time to share your thoughts with us. You ended well by saying that a lot of things are not working, that even NAFDAC is not working, and that if given the opportunity, you get NAFDAC to work. I think on that note, you can take leave of the Senate. Thank you. Dear distinguished colleagues, the nominee before us, without saying much, just give us a short resume of yourself, and then the distinguished senators will treat you in line with the provisions of the law.
Who make it possible for us to be here for this screening exercise. My thanks and appreciation to the President and Commander-in-Chief who found me worthy to be part of these ministerial nominees. Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, most distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barau Jibrin, Principal Officers of the 10th Senate, Your Excellency, with your permission, let me start the recognition from the senators from my state. I will start with my senator Senator Ibrahim Hassan Ankombo, Tolban Gombe, the immediate past governor of Gombe State, Senator representing Gombe North Senatorial District, and Senator Tony Aro, representing Gombe South. My bosses, distinguished senators of the 10th Assembly, Your Excellency, Mr. President, with your permission, I want to recognize my colleagues, non-serving senators. I will start with Senator Bello Hayatu Gorzo, the former Chief Whip of the National Assembly, Senator Joshua Lidani, Senator Ahmed Hassan Barata, Senator Aidi Giang, Senator Alkali Jajere, Senator Jalo Zarami. Your Excellency, the member representing my federal constituency in the House of Reps is equally here, Honorable Rashid. Former members of House of Reps from my state, Honorable Binta Bello, Honorable Umar Nafada. Your Excellency, let me take us to the last part of the resume. I was a member of the 6th, 7th, and 9th Senate. When I was at the 6th Senate, I was made the Vice Chairman, Senate Committee on State and Local Government. When I returned in 2011, I was the Chairman, Senate Committee on Nigerian Air Force. In 2019, after the general election, I was made as the Chairman, Senate Committee on National Population and National Identity, and an acting Chairman, Senate Committee on Industries. Later, I was moved as the Chairman, Senate Committee on Trade and Investment. Mr. President, my very bosses, distinguished senators of the 10th Assembly, I am glad to inform you, Mr. President, among the referrals that were made to my committee, 2 have scaled for presidential assent. Copyright Act Cap C28 LFN 2008 Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2021. Financial Reporting Council Act 2021 Amendment Bill 20 SB 824 was also assented by Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief. Mr. President, my bosses, distinguished senators, this is a very brief biography of my resume. Mr. President, with your permission, I raise my case.
And so long as you are peaceful, so long as you are not into criminality, you have a right to live everywhere. And in that kind of situation, like Plateau, where we have 53 ethnic nationalities, it is not easy to govern. But it is easy to govern when you give everybody sense of responsibility, sense of recognition. And that is why in Plateau you have ethic. You have the ethic from Akwa Ibom. You have Yorubas. You have South-South. You have Fulani. You have different tribes. And in order to have peace in Plateau, you must give them that sense of recognition. That I did in the last 8 years. So if it is local, thank you, Mr. President.
Your Excellency, the nominee, I know along. You were almost veering off into campaign. The Senate is made up of all political parties. So the people that even supported you the most are the people from the opposition parties. They are the ones who endorsed you. We that work with you, we can't even say anything because they've closed our mouth. They said they support you. And so because they support you, and we have already endorsed you, and we nominated you, you don't need to preach to the converted. Just step forward and then take leave of the Senate. And I wish you luck. It's one Senate. One Senate. That's what I'm saying, one Senate. But if there's something I wanted to mention, but You people are not going to allow me to mention it. Will you allow me? Okay, so I won't mention the fact that Senator Napoleon Bale will be very relieved that he is going into the federal cabinet. Next nominee. Distinguished colleagues, we have before us distinguished Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, CON, immediate past governor of Kebbi State. Your Excellency, welcome to the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I mean, if you can give us a summarized version of your resume, and then your colleagues will now have the opportunity of asking you to enjoy your privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Deputy Senate President, the other Senate leaders, distinguished senators, especially my brothers from Kebbi State, Senator Mohammed Adamu Aleru, Senator Dr. Yahya Abdullahi, and Senator Garba Medoki. Your Excellency, thank you for varying your rules to stay longer hours in order to help in confirmation hearings as requested by Mr. President. Today I was followed here to support me by the Kebbi State Governor, Dr. Nasiru Idris, who has been with me since 8 a.m. and thank you for allowing him into the chambers. Equally, the National Organizing Secretary of our party, Alhaji Suleiman Muhammad Argun, as well as other leading supporters from Kebbi. Your Excellency, as you have rightly introduced, my name is Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, the immediate past governor of Kebbi State, 2 terms governor of Kebbi State. Before then, I was a member of this hallowed chamber, the 7th Senate, and earlier than that, I served 2 years from 2010 to 2011 as member of the 6th Senate, where I replaced distinguished Senator Muhammad Adamu Aliru, who in 2010 left the Senate to become a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Equally, in this period, I was called upon and honored by my colleagues to serve as the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, in addition to a number of ad hoc assignments, which include being vice chairman to President Muhammadu Buhari in the National Food Security Council, which is a council that was designed to ensure that Nigeria keeps an eye on food security. Equally, I was the vice chairman of a presidential initiative to ensure that artisanal gold mining that is fraught with a lot of criminality rather than the opportunity that is in it is organized and made to help us organize the sector in order for the sector to contribute its fair quota to our nation. Equally, I have handled a number of party assignments, most especially being twice the chairman of the campaign committee of Ekiti State gubernatorial elections. And just recently, I was one of the 2 nominees of the president, as he was then president-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the Presidential Transition Council. Your Excellency, I provided all my schooling and all my employment history, from lecturing to working in banks to being a World Bank scholar and having a stint at the World Bank, IMF in Washington, and as well as interest in a number of companies, and while serving at one time as a special assistant to the Honorable Minister of Finance, Kalu Iduka Kalu. If time permits, Mr. President of the Senate, I can continue or I can stop there. Thank you. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, we have before us Senator Bagudu, and he has given a brief of himself. Is it the view of the Senate that he takes a bow? Yes. Is it, Senator? Distinguished colleagues, we have before us the immediate past governor of Zamfara State, Bello Mohammed Matawale, MON. Distinguished nominee, if you have anything to add to your resume, just summarize it briefly for the information of the general public and for the knowledge of all Nigerians. The floor is yours.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, Your Excellency, the Deputy Senate President, the leadership of the Senate, Your Excellency, permit me to name my senators from Zamfara State, especially the former governor of Zamfara State, Senator Abdulaziz Yari Abubakar, and Senator Sabiau, and Senator Ikra Aliu Bilbis, distinguished senators. My name is Bello Mohammed Matawale, a nominee from Zamfara State. Your Excellency, let me thank Mr. President and the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for nominating me to be one of the ministers in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And let me thank His Excellency, the Senate President, for admitting me to this chamber for confirmation and screening. Your Excellency, sir, let me thank my former colleagues who are here with me and my friends like Senator Hassan Mohammed Gusau, Senator Binta Masi Garba, and the former Deputy Speaker of the House, Babangida Nguruje, Honorable Khadija Bukar Abba, Honorable Babagana Tijani Banki, and Honorable Mohammed Ahmad Sani. Your Excellency, I'm a former member House of Representatives from 2003 to 2015. I was the Chairman House Committee on Ethics and Privilege of the House from 2003 to 2007. And from 2007 to 2011, I'm a former Deputy Minority Whip, together with one of my colleagues that is here, Honorable and now Senator Ali Indume, and Senator and the former Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Waziri Tambuwan, and my friend, Honorable and now Senator Kau Sumaila from Kano. Your Excellency, in 2011 and to 2015, I'm the Chairman House Committee on National Security and Intelligence of the House. In 2019, I became the Governor of Zamfara State. This is short of my resume, which I believe all the senators have my resume with them. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished Senator Yari.
Thank you very much, Mr. President of the Senate, as the chair, my distinguished colleagues. I remain Abdulaziz Abubakar. I represent Zamfara, Mr. President, and from Zamfara State. My brother, a friend, colleague in the House of Representatives, my colleagues, you have heard of him, and as a privilege, Mr. President, we all of us from Zamfara State, we have met and agreed to adopt the nomination of Muhammad Bello Matole. So therefore, I requested Mr. President and my colleagues to allow the privilege as read by the leader of the Senate to take bow and go. Mr. President, I so submit.
Distinguished Senator Yaradua.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as the chair. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Abdulaziz Musa Yaradua, representing the good people of Katsina Central. I'm from Katsina State. Mr. President, I rise to support my brother, His Excellency Senator Abdulaziz Yari, that the nominee before us, having qualified to be one of those that should take a bow, I want to submit that this Senate, my distinguished colleagues, we should allow this nominee who has paid his dues. He has been a member of the House of Representatives. He has also been a governor, and he has told the path of those that have set records in this country. Having lost his election, he conceded defeat just the way the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, did. And I think he has made history, and it is the hope of this Senate that we get more people like them, more politicians who will, you know, when they are defeated, they save the nation of resources of going to court. So on that basis, I want to support what my brother, His Excellency, has mentioned, that we should allow him to take a bow and go. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Honestly, the gentleman before us is a politician and also a gentleman. And I've heard from you, but he mentioned so many names. As principal officer, he worked with the likes of former Speaker, former Governor of Sokoto State, and also worked with the distinguished senator from Kano. So I will spare the former Speaker. But let me hear from Ismail Akawu whether he has anything to say before he takes a bow.
Mr. President, my dear respected colleague, I am Suleiman Abdurrahman Kawu Sumaila,
OFR, representing Kano South Senatorial District. Mr. President, quite all right. Bello Muhammad Matawalle is our colleague from 2003 to 2015. We served in the 6th Assembly with him as leaders of the House of Representatives. Muhammad Alain Dume, Senator, as a leader, minority leader. I am a deputy minority leader. Of course, our former speaker and our Oga as a deputy chief whip of the House of the Representatives. Our current chief of staff, Pemi Baja, was a member of that leadership. I don't have much to say about Matawalle because we are very close. I know a lot about him. Jokingly yesterday, he told me that if for any reason any senator asks him a question, he will refer the question to Senator Ali Ndume because they are very close, they work together. I don't know, most of us, we don't know what they are doing before they came to the chamber of the House of Representatives, more especially if motions to do with opposition came in the floor of the House of Representatives. Quite all right, we commend our president, our dear president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for appointing one of us, which we worked together with him for almost 2 decades, 20 years we are with him. And even when he is a governor, he do a wonderful job in curtailing the security situation of Zamfara state vis-a-vis Northwest. A very versatile politician, a philanthropic, a business tycoon, a good friend of the National Assembly, Dr. Bello Muhammad Matawalle, the Matawalle of Maradun, and I can't even mention his traditional titles across the Niger, even beyond Nigeria, Niger, Senegal, and other places. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, the Senate. Thank you for approving one of us to be member of the Federal Executive Council. Thank you. I so submit, Mr. President.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, even from the way you are speaking, it means you were itching to speak. So, Deputy Senate President, you've also been a landlord of the National Assembly, and you have a veteran of the National Assembly. Rang off so that he can now take a bow.
Barrow Jibril, Kano North. Mr. President, I am speaking on behalf of former members of House of Representatives who are in the current Senate. I've been mandated to tell this Senate that the nominee before us is someone that has paid his dues to the National Assembly of this country, to his state of Zamfara, and the entire Nigeria. That is a man of integrity, someone who has the passion to always work for his state and his country. And that we should not hesitate to confirm him to be the Minister of Federal Republic of Nigeria. That we are very sure that he will do his best in making robust contribution as a member of the cabinet of our dear President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That we should support him, and we urge all our colleagues to support his confirmation. I say submit, Mr. President. And without further ado, they should be allowed to bow and go. Yes.
Wanted him to bow and go, you would not have continued the long speeches. So the reality on ground is that it's a familiar thought for him. He looks forward to meeting all of you. He has worked with you for a long time, and he knows all of you. And he had told me outside before I came in here that if there's any difficult question, I should please refer it to Senator Ndube. So, Senator, the chief whip of the 10th Senate, distinguished Senator Ndube, is there any difficult question so far?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, sir. I would have spoken, but maybe in a closed session. But since I'm not, he knows, Tambuwal, starting from him, he knows what happened. Cow knows what happened. Leader knows what happened. DSP knows what happened. You know what happened. Yai, where is Yai? So you know what happened. You want to know? No. For that reason, Mr. Chairman, I beg you that after taking a bow to the Senate, he should take a bow to us. And let him go.
By the privilege of the Senate, let us know what happened.
Everybody wants to know what happened.
Is it the view of the Senate that our brother and immediate past governor of Zamfara State, who graciously conceded defeat and stopped unnecessary expenses in court, should take a bow now and take leave of the Senate? Is it a view of the Senate that we should also commend Mr. President for bringing veteran politicians with integrity into the cabinet of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Yes. We now take a bow. Please. No. The nominee. Come, yes, please. Approach the chair. We have not yet confirmed you. So do what Senator Ndume said. Senator Ndume, Chief Whip, you said when he's leaving, he should also bow before those of you that know, that have an idea of what happened that time. So go ahead. Just a bow, not a handshake. Thank you.
I can give it to him. I can give it to him.
When he lost election, nothing has happened.
Dr. Yadon? Dr. Yusuf Tango Sununu. Doctor, you know, I met you earlier in my office, and when I came to the House of Reps, I met you. Are you representing somebody or yourself? You are the one? Yes. I know I met him there. Congratulations. Congratulations. Please just give us a brief resume of yourself, and then the rest, my colleagues will direct.
The most distinguished Senate President, the Deputy Senate President, the body of the principal officers, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I must also recognize the 3 senators from my state, Senator Ademo Aleru, whom I have been his personal physician for the past 25 years. Also, Senator Garba Meleki and Senator Yahya Abdullahi, and the executive governor of Kebbi said that was also here with us this morning. Distinguished Senate President, I was born 56 years ago. I attended Ngeski Primary School, from where I proceeded to Gombe Science Secondary School, Yaouri, finished in 1986. I then proceeded to University of Usman Dan Fodio University, Sokoto. However, due to certain circumstances, the whole of our set was transferred to University of Maiduguri, where I graduated in 1996. I served in Government House Ado Ekiti in 1999, and I came back to Kebbi State, where I served for 6 months at the General Hospital Argungu. From there, I was transferred to be in charge of Government House Clinic and personal position to the then Executive Governor of Kebbi State, Senator Muhammad Adamu Aleru. After 5 years, I proceeded to do my specialization, and I became a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist in 2010. From there, I came back to the services of Kebbi State government. Thereafter, I got transferred to Federal Medical Center Brunin Kebbi, where I also proceeded to learn and practice minimal access surgery in gynecology as a subspecialty. In 2019, I voluntarily resigned my appointment and contested for the post of a member of House of Representatives, and I got elected. I was in the House for 4 years and then got re-elected in 2023. During my stay in the House, I served as the Chairman House Committee on Healthcare Services, and in the 10th Assembly, I was also elected to the same post. Mr. President, sir, over the last 4 years, I came to realize that the burden in healthcare delivery is serious in the country, and there is need of a special consideration to be given to health. And I also realized in the last 4 years, there is, for health to be safe in this country, there must be a very good alignment between legislature and the executive, and I think that's the best way we can go out. And also we need to reprioritize and restore confidence, because right now the major problems in healthcare delivery has to do with confidence. Mr. President, sir, it will interest you to know that people will leave primary health center next to their door and move for many kilometers to go and waste time just to be consultant for malaria. And also we will realize that even in the tertiary hospitals, the confidence, especially of the elite group, is also not there. So what is needed is to see how we can organize the healthcare, and I believe the basic way we can do that is to strengthen our national health insurance in the country. And behold, I also participated actively in drafting further legislative activities that made it possible to have national health insurance authority in the country. And I believe that with Senate, there are areas that I know, even Mr. Senate President made a comment when I was listening, the issue of indigent people. It is my appeal that the National Assembly will consider the need for indigent fund to be so encroached in our budgetary line, and that will go a long way in sustaining the addition. Mr. Senate President, I'm a passionate believer of girl-child education and girl rights. Just recently, child education has been a problem in my constituency. And since I came and I was voted, Mr. President, I've been shouldering about 700 girl-child education through my girl-child support in terms of scholarship support. Mr. President, also reduced maternal mortality that has been so drastically affected in my constituency. I introduced free cesarean section, and as of today, we have operated over 2,895 women free of charge, and I also came with policy of restoring site for 500 patients, and Your Excellency, I will say that so far we have done 517, and we are planning to do another 200. By and large, I quite believe that in terms of the strategy of healthcare delivery in the country, the primary healthcare system must also be reinvigorated and also must be addition. And there is going to be good of alignment. What I realized over the time is that at times legislation are passed with a federal character aimed to be at national, and the state are not carried along, and you find that buying in of the state governments become very, very difficult. For example, the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund that had been mentioned is a provision in the 2014 National Health Act of Nigeria, and Your Excellency, you find that the counter fund becomes so much difficult for the state to pay, Therefore, even at our own level as the committee, we have to come with a strategy that we are going to see how the state can get buy-in. And then on final note, I quite agree that alignment is very, very important. I want to cite a very good example of where alignment has functioned very well. Mr. President, when the COVID-19 came, it became a serious issue. And I believe that is what the major challenge that has faced healthcare delivery in the country. In order to attempt, when we came, we only have 4 molecular laboratories that can diagnose COVID-19. When the the supplementary budget came, it came with a policy of having at least 3 molecular laboratory per state and per geopolitical zone. And the question raised by our committee then was, who will be responsible in terms of manpower? Who will be responsible in terms of management and control? And the answer really became obvious that there is a serious gap. Because of the alignment between National Assembly and this thing, we had a review meeting, and that budget was now appropriated to take care of the 54 tertiary general hospitals in the country. And as today, one would be proud to say that every tertiary hospital of the federal government can diagnose and handle the issue of molecular diagnosis in the country. So also through that alignment, we have isolation centers and intensive care units all over the country. And therefore, I quite believe that where there is good understanding, amendment to benefit the country is something that is not only feasible, but can be easily done. I therefore also want to use this opportunity to thank Mr. President for finding me very worthy to be given the chance to serve as member of Federal Executive Council of Nigeria, and also to thank all those that have mentored me over the time to be where I am today. And I must be grateful that over the last 4 years in the House, I have learned a lot and I've learned a lot to do. On this note, I want to thank you very much for giving me this rare opportunity to appear before you to present myself as a nominee of Mr. President for the appointment as a Federal Executive Council member. Thank you very much.
The Right Honorable Dr. Yusuf Tango Sununu, I must thank Mr. President for your nomination on behalf of the Senate, and to say that, yes, we are just screening. We are not confirming yet. We'll still take a look at your resume, and if there's any petition or others in totality in closed session before we come out with the confirmation and approvals. So, but for now, we believe strongly that your nomination shows the importance the current president places on healthcare delivery, because you are the second person we are interviewing today who has a lot of knowledge in different aspects of health. I've seen, yes, I think the six medical doctors. The last person that came was an expert in nephrology. You know, something about kidneys and all that. And I've done a lot in that direction. And you just confirm here now that you have done over 2,000 cesarean sessions almost free of charge for your people. So we want to plead that God Almighty will continue to imbue you with good health and with the heart for humanity to contribute more. And if confirmed by this Senate, please take the same zeal that you serve your community, your federal constituency, into serving the entirety of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You may now step forward, take a bow, and go back. Distinguished colleagues, we have before us Honorable Savannah Beatrice Gisalo from the FCT. Our brother, we have your resume, but if you would like you to do a summarized version of your resume, and if you have anything else to add that is not contained in the resume, and you want Nigerians to know, you go ahead and say so. But I must say that since the inception of the current democratic practice in 1999, I think this is the first time we are having the Federal Capital Territory being given a ministerial slot. And for this, we must commend the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has come in to correct the wrongs of the past. I can see you are accompanied by veterans, including our very distinguished brother. When he joins our party, I'll mention his name. You have the floor.
Go ahead. The President of the Senate, the man we cherish, the Deputy Senate President, my own Senator, Iretikin Kebbi, Your Excellency, permit me, let me mention some of my colleagues that I was a member of Assembly 7 and Assembly 8. I've seen Senator Tambal, who was my speaker. I've seen Barry Mbi. I've seen Mangono, Senator Darlington. I've seen, Your Excellency, I didn't meet the Deputy Senate President, but I know he's a member of the House of Reps. And some of them, that even when I was a chairman, I know them of local government. But let me still mention, the minority leader, Manko was my colleague in Assembly 7, Sunday Karimi, Senator Onao, Senator Kawo, Senator Solomon, Mangono, Senator Sunday. I've mentioned your name, sir. I'll mention your name. And some of you, sir. The leader. We are all in Assembly 7. Senator Bami Dele. Let me mention the only man from Borno State, so. Yes, sir. Your Excellency, the Senate President, let me put it in this way. Let me use this opportunity to thank Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and the Vice President, Senator Shetima Kassim, for nominating me from FCT to be part of Federal Executive Council. It is a history that the good people of FCT will never forget this gesture. Mr. President, distinguished senators, my name is Zamfara Bitu Gisalo. I'm a member of the Order of the Federal Republic, MFR. I'm born into the family of Mr. and Mrs. Kusa Gariki Gisalo. I'm from Gariki village in Abuja Municipal Council of the Federal Capital Territory. I'm a grandson of His Royal Highness Gisalo Daudu Sape Gariki, Abuja, his blessed memory. Your Excellency, distinguished senators, the Holy Bible of Zephaniah describes my name as the Lord mighty save. I'm married to Mrs. Zephaniah Florence Gisalo. I'm blessed with 3 children. 1, Kusa Solomon Zephaniah Gisalo, Justice Zephaniah, and the only daughter, Anne Zephaniah Gisalo. She's a student of a medical student in one of our universities. Your Excellencies, let me mention that I was a local government chairman Abuja Municipal Council in 2000. I started in INEC 1990 to 2002, and I left INEC to join into politics, and I become the chairman Abuja Municipal Council for 6 years. Your Excellencies, I left AMAC to come to the Green Chamber. I was elected as a member of Parliamentary Assembly 7, 2011 and 2015. I served in so many committees. If I can mention appropriation, constituted outreach, Niger Delta NDCC, FCT Area Council and Auxiliary Matters, Committee of Defense, Committee of National Security and Intelligence, and Committee of Sport. I'm also a member of Assembly 8. I have served as the Chairman Committee on FCT Area Council and Auxiliary Matters. Also served in Committee of FCT, Committee of Nigeria Army, Committee of Custom Service, Committee on Federal Capital Commission, Committee on Water Resources, Committee on Public Account, Committee on Public Safety and Intelligence. I also serve in the ad hoc committee on constitutional review. Your Excellencies, I'm happy that I was a candidate of the All Progressive Congress, APC, of the Federal Capital Territory in 2019 general election. I lost to my brother, Senator Philip Aduda. He also lost recently. He's here with me. Your Excellency, the Senate President, I was honored by Mr. President to be the coordinator of APC Presidential Campaign Council 2023 general election, Tinubu Shetima general election. So I was the coordinator who coordinated the election of the FCT, and were able to defeat at least the PDP in FCT that we think they are the one leading the FCT. I'm happy. Well, Labour, I don't want to mention. Your Excellency, Your Excellency, the Senate President, I'm happy. I'm from this home, Parliament. I will not forget this home. Wherever I go, I know that I know where I come from. Thank you very much.
Distinguished colleagues, you have the nominee in front of you. Do not mind the time. We'll close before 12 midnight. So it's important that we do a thorough job. And I didn't want to mention Senator Aduda, but he's the one that says Senator Aduda lost. But I don't think he lost. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here. He came here because he's very happy with the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu won. So, distinguished Senator Aduda, thank you for supporting the president and supporting the nominee. This had always been your prayer, that the FCT should have a nominee. Now, FCT has a nominee. The confirmation or rejection is left to the Senate. and we shall communicate it to you in due course. But is there anybody that has a question? Okay. We must be sensitive to the feelings of our colleagues. Distinguished Senator Haja Kingibe, you want to ask a question?
Standing Order 10, I'm Distinguished Senator Ireti Kingibe, not Distinguished Senator Haji Kingibe. Just light correction on my name. And I would like to commend and support my nominee.
Stop. You correcting the interpretation of your name by the Senate President? Because our rule is very clear. Our rule is clear that it's the Senate President that does the interpretation of our rules. So if I interpreted your name to include Hajia, are you questioning the interpretation by the Senate President? Anyway, you can proceed.
I would like to, first of all, congratulate my nominee and all of FCT for this nomination. We are all extremely happy and proud. We would like to thank the President and the Vice President for actually making this a reality, something we have been wishing and hoping for a very long time. I would also like my distinguished colleagues that my nominee comes highly recommended. I have known him for so many years. Before he became local government chairman, he went through 2 terms. After that, 2 terms in the House of Rep. So he is well known to me and definitely qualified to be minister. And therefore, I will urge all of you, according to the protocol that we have been following, that as a member of the House 2 terms, that he should also take a bow. And that's what I want to say. We are so happy that I'm actually speechless, which you all know I'm never speechless. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Ireti Kingibe. And my distinguished colleagues, is it the view of the Senate that the nominee should take a bow? Distinguished colleagues, we have before us Prince Abubakar Audu Jr. If we have your resume, if there is anything that you want to add to your resume to enable the Nigerian public know about you, and also our distinguished brothers and sisters, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Go ahead.
Your Excellency, the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, distinguished Senator Godswill Obot Akpabio. Your Excellency, the Deputy Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Barau Jibrin. Your Excellencies, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Your Excellency, Mr. Senate President, with your permission, I would like to specifically acknowledge the senators from my state, the 3 senators from my state. I'd like to start with the senator from Kogi Central Senatorial District, Senator Abubakar Sadiq Ohere. Then I'll move to the senator from the Kogi Western Senatorial District, Senator, distinguished Senator Steve Karimi. And very important.